Councilmember Jones Cruz, will you please make the required disclosures?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm participating remotely due to contracting a contagious illness, which prevents me from attending the meeting in person. I do not have any individual over the age of 18 in the room with me at this time, or in the house.
Thank you. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Father, Lord, we're just so grateful and thankful for this opportunity tonight, Lord, and we think about your attributes of being omnipotent, all-powerful, Lord. You're omniscient, all-knowing, and you're omnipresent. And we're asking tonight, Father, just for guidance. We're asking for wisdom. We're asking for unity. Lord, that the city of Riverbank will continue to grow and become better each and every day as you lead us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Here.
Mayor O'Brien?
Here. There are no changes to the agenda. Any council member or staff who has direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Seeing none, we'll start off with item 7.1, Proclamation National Parks and Recreation Month. And who is going to receive this? Come on up. Congratulations for everything you do. All right, City of Riverbank Proclamation, National Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes physical activity, emotional and mental health and wellness through organized and self-directed fitness, play, and connecting people to nature. And whereas Parks and Recreation create memorable experience through youth sport and enrichment activities, teen centers and programs, adult fitness and enrichment programs, free special events, and beyond. And whereas Parks and Recreation fosters social cohesiveness in community by celebrating cultural diversity, providing spaces to come together peacefully, access local parks and trails, promoting social equity, and whereas Parks and Recreation remain versatile and innovative in providing vital services to community through local, national, and global emergencies, all while adhering to guidelines set forth by governing agencies. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Riverbank does hereby declare the month of July 2024 as National Park and Recreation Month. I encourage all individuals to join with representatives of the government agencies to visit parks, participate in recreation programs, attend special events created to highlight our parks and recreation professionals, managers, and employees, and to recognize the immense impact they make to create memorable experiences, health, and improve the quality of life. Signed today. And I want to thank you for all you've done since you've been here. Been here, what, 8 months? I'm counting July. Because that's what we just, anyway, and it's been great. And so if you have a couple words, I would appreciate it. You have to speak into the microphone. Okay. I want all the staff, come on up.
And Sammy will bring you up here too. Your hard guy.
Move and hold it all together.
She's like, no. I'm like, didn't you start on the first page? All about you guys, not this.
Marisela.
I'll get one more.
Item 7.2, presentation, Park and Recreation Department.
Thank you. All good, Norma. I got time.
No, we don't.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting us share what Parks and Recreation is and for the acknowledgement of the importance of Parks and Recreation, not only here in Riverbank, but nationwide. What I want to do with this presentation is provide a little bit more insight on what exactly Parks and Recreation is. I think there might be some perceptions, especially in communities that I've served in, where Parks and Recreation is more of a want than a need, or it's a good to have, but not a must have. And so I want to share a presentation on, how vital we are to the community, the things that we bring to your residents, and the vitality of what we do. So with Parks and Recreation, we're a department that is strong. As you can see, we're well represented. We are composed of seasonal, part-time, full-time staff, volunteers, local businesses that are involved with everything we do. And normally your clicker doesn't like me right now. It likes me now. So again, as I mentioned, there are some communities and individuals, residents that view Parks and Recreation as not the most needed amenity in local government. The National Recreation Parks Association, every year they do an engagement report on how often residents or people are attending parks, how active they are, and getting people's feedback. In their most recent report, they estimate about 280 million visitors attended parks in the last year throughout the country. 9 out of 10 adults agree that Parks and Recreation is an important service offered by government. And 84% of adults, when they look to move into a community or visit a community, they look for amenities such as Parks and Recreation. And so as you can see from some of our quotes from some famous people, recreation and parks play a vital role not only in a community, but in the individual. So one thing I like to look at is when we look at, one thing I've been told is when you look at a local government or a city, you kind of compare it to a human body. You look at planning and development, it can be considered as the skeleton of the city, finance, the brains, wastewater. I'll let you guys figure that one out on your own. But Parks and Recreation, I take it as it's the personality of your community. It is what defines who you are. When people come talk to your community, they say it's a happy community. Is it an exciting community? Is it boring? Is it dull? So we're the ones that make that happen. We're the ones that determine what your community is. So one thing that we look into, and another thing I've never heard of, is when people move into a community, they look into a community. They don't say, and I don't mean bash Cody here, but they don't say we're moving to this community because there's no potholes in the roads, or they don't say That expansion of the wastewater treatment plant, that's something, the reason why we're moving to your community. They look at our community and say, hey, there's parks around, there's things for my kids to do, there's things for us to do. As seniors, they say there's walking trails around, there's activities, there's socialization. And those are things that we provide and are needed. And so one of the big components that we have that make this possible is, well, before I get to that point, here are all the things that we do as Parks and Recreation. I listened to a podcast recently that talked about parks and recreations in cities, and one of the podcasters said that Parks and Rec is essentially a little city in itself. We have a touch on a little bit of everything when you look at transportation, diversity, food security, financial assistance, physical health, mental wellness, social interaction, child development, intergenerational reach, environmental stewardship, inclusivity, accessibility. These are all things that staff and myself, we focus on a day-to-day basis. You may have departments that are focused on one or two things or a couple of things, but we have a broad reach. One thing that we would argue about is we're the department that is hands on the ground. We interact with probably the most residents on a day-to-day basis. We work with local businesses on our events. We work with individuals at our parks, with youth in our programs. We work with those that are seniors with their programming as well with our facilities. So on a day-to-day basis, we interact with the wide variety and population of Riverbank. So with that in mind, the way we accomplish this is through our staff. Like I mentioned, we have a big staff. We have over 50 plus members, part-time, seasonal, and full-time, working for you as a city. In college and growing up and being a part of Parks and Recreation, we're often taught that no one does Parks and Recreation for the money. It is all because of the passion we have to give back to the community. The involvement we want to give and make an impact on individuals' lives. So we have fantastic staff that give their nights and days to focus on your residents. One thing that's interesting about Parks and Rec as well is we're not a Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. We have stuff going on in the evenings, weekends, Sundays, to where we get called out constantly. And we do so with a smile on our face because we know what it does to our community and the impact it does to benefit the lives and increase the quality of life. So that's one thing that makes us unique about us. We are 365 days of the year. With Cheese and Wine coming up, we're anticipating we're gonna be out there 5 in the morning till 2 in the morning. That's that next day. And we're prepared for that and we accept that challenge. And so with that in mind, here's some of the things that we provide to the community or our plan to provide to the community. We have challenged staff to increase the amount of events and programs that we do to our residents. The latest challenge that we've given them is to do one event a month, whether it be big or small, and make it diverse and inclusive. We have looked into updating our programming. Our staff oversees 16 different parks throughout town, not including facilities like the teen center, the community center, the pool. We also have the onus of overseeing all the building maintenance of all city-owned facilities. We also take care of our downtown. So we have a lot on our plate that we take care and focus on. And one thing that is interesting about what we do is, and again, let's not throw you under the bridge, Cody, here. Hopefully we're good friends after this. But when you look at when we have residents come in talking about needs in the community, no one's going to argue with you if you need more water, or no one's going to argue with you to fix the potholes in the road. But recreation, every single person recreates differently. And so when you focus on one park in the community, you have 15 other parks that need help too. And people are going to say, well, where's our help on this park? Or if you create a program for toddlers, you might have someone say, well, where's our program for our seniors? And so we have to focus on a wide array of populations, interests. We may focus on pickleball, and you have someone that hates pickleball and they love tennis. And so we make improvements to one. We have others that want that same love and attention that we strive and try as hard as to get there. And so with all these things that we have going on with our camps, our events, programming, our parks, our facilities, we see results of our youth, our our residents with smiles on their face, being actively engaged, involved. So with that being said, I want to say my thank yous. And the first one obviously goes to my staff. Our staff, they work hard, they persevere, they're dedicated. And I don't want to talk to you guys about this. I should be looking at them saying this. Thank you guys for all that you do. I love the 7 months I've been here. You guys have worked hard and made my life easier. The easiest it could be. Without you, I cannot stay in my AC-filled office relaxing. Yeah, you guys are the ones that are doing the hard work, the ones that make things possible. So I appreciate all the work you do and continue to do. And yeah, there's not enough thanks to go on. And so appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully that's enough to where you guys don't quit on me tomorrow. But thank you so much for all that you do. Before I go on to the next one, I want to give them a round of applause. So let's do that. The next one I'll give thank you to is our volunteers. We do have volunteers that are involved with what we do. The latest being our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. We have one represented with Sammy. She is our chair for the committee here. These are individuals that are sacrificing their time to be away from their families, their businesses, their lifestyles to commit back to the city and to our organization. Without them, we are not able to do a lot of the work that we want to do. Again, I know we said we have 50 staff members, but there's a ton to go on and we are spread thin. So with our volunteers, they are able to fill in those gaps that we need. And last, I want to say thank you to the City Council for your support financially, verbally, and just being there when we request assistance and help. It is nice to have a City Council that is open to listen to us. I think I've chatted with each of you individually on some of our goals, our visions, our struggles, and having that open conversation with you. I really do appreciate that. Hearing us out and finding ways to aid us in our time of need. So again, thank you for that. And yeah, thank you.
Any questions or comments before he leaves? He left. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Make a
Okay.
statement.
I just want to say thank you to Parks and Rec. With me being involved in so many community activities and events, I just want to say thank you. You have just stepped in and made, our events just that much more successful. Every time I call or I come in, you're always pleasant, give me the best customer service. When we have problems at the community center, I ask my senior citizens to be patient. They're on their way. They'll come and fix our problems. But I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the senior citizens and for everybody in Riverbank. Thank you.
I just want to quickly say, this is definitely a must-have department. You guys are what makes the city fun. Kudos to everybody in the department from bottom up. You guys are doing amazing, supporting everybody. Everybody I've worked with. You guys are an amazing group for everything you've done. And it's quality of life that everybody is looking for, and you guys are directly involved in that. So thank you.
Cody, you make our city fun too. But thank you to Parks and Rec for everything you do.
And as
I
I
have-
said it, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I know the silent one. I had a comment. I was returning phone calls today because I've been under the weather a little bit. And the majority of my phone calls today were about parks, and more parks. And I probably spent the biggest chunk of my day talking about the need and necessity. And you hit every point that they were talking about on my many phone calls. There was about 4 or 5 of them today of why we need parks. So thank you. And it was kind of fitting. And I think the sign was on the wall, and there we go. Let's move forward. Thank you. It is a vital department for our city, and it's vital for our health and welfare. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you to your team. And as I've always said, as I go by and hear the laughter, you are the fun department. All right. Next is 7.3, presentation, illegal fireworks. Chief.
Chief Ridenhour will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, just kind of remind everybody what about illegal fireworks, what are illegal fireworks, the dangers of them, and what enforcement strategies we're going to have for this year. So safe and sane fireworks, those are the ones that you're going to buy from your stands that are going up around town now. They'll be going for sale here shortly, but there is a seal that you want to see on those, right? They're identified by the state fire marshal. They're showing that they are a safe and sane fireworks. Those also are normally fundraising events for a lot of our community organizations, and your money is well spent there because it's going back into the community to help support programs. So illegal fireworks, these are the ones that are the most dangerous to us, right? They cause a lot of injuries every year. They take public safety, time to deal with people that have lost fingers, hands, or even worse. Unfortunately, present a very large fire hazard. It's a very dry year. We've already seen a lot of fires in the state, and we don't need any more fires. And these fireworks is basically, like I'll show you on the slide, they're things that leave the ground or explode. So some of the things you'll see up here are some of the mortars, the top that have the long fuse on them that are dropped into tubes that they go in the air. People kind of forget that the bottle rockets are illegal. Roman candles, basically, again, anything that shoots fire and leaving the ground into the air is illegal, right? And again, they're so dangerous. These are not purchased at any of the stands around town, right? These are purchased, typically people find them through social media, online, illegal resellers. You don't buy illegal fireworks from someone's garage, right? You don't get them out of someone's pickup truck or the back of their trunk in a parking lot. There's a reason. They're illegal, right? They're dangerous. And again, just a reminder to the public, we really need your help, just like every year, to refrain from buying these illegal fireworks or even using them. So with the support of the city council and the city itself, a few years ago, we adopted new ordinance in this town to combat illegal fireworks. And with that, if you're caught using or possessing illegal fireworks within the city of Riverbank, your first offense is $1,000. That's a lot of money, right? So not only are you harming other people, causing danger to our community, you're also subject to a $1,000 fine. And if you're caught doing that again, it's going to go up to $2,000, $3,000 and up for there. We want you guys to, if you see illegal fireworks, to obviously call us at our non-emergency dispatch number. I'm going to show that a few times tonight because it's very important. That's the way how you can reach us directly. That number is 209-552-2472. Please be patient with the dispatchers that evening. It's obviously one of our most busiest days of the year. People are out celebrating. A lot of calls for service are generated that evening, but be patient. Your call will be answered. So what we're going to do a little different this year is that we're also going to have 5 staff working that evening, right? Looking for illegal fireworks as we have in years past. Some of the challenges here, we want to identify where that firework came from, the illegal firework, but we're also going to be using some of our bigger assets like the sheriff's helicopter this year. I've been working closely with them over the last few weeks, and they have some of the most sophisticated technology. I think some of you on the council have actually seen that technology. It has map overlays. You can see in detail from several thousand feet in the air, make out people's faces, addresses, all those things. So if the helicopter was up that evening, I told them if they see an illegal firework, film it and let us know, and we will follow up with that. And you may get a citation. You may not be contacted that evening because we're busy with other calls, but we will be following up on every single complaint that we have through the entire season this year. And again, the most important thing is call us. Non-emergency dispatch number, again, 209-552-2472, and we'll respond. With that, I just want to kind of remind everybody, this is something that we're going to start seeing ramping up pretty soon. Legal fireworks start happening here on the 28th and go through July 6th. The legal times to discharge legal fireworks is from noon to 10 p.m., right? Those are the hours set by city ordinance. Again, legal fireworks are never permitted or allowed. And with that, I'll turn it to the council for any questions they may have.
Any questions?
Just one real quick. How much aerial support are we actually going to have? Is it just the one for over Riverbank, or are we talking?
It's
the county?
it's our helicopter for the county that evening.
Okay.
I kind of asked them to kind of hang over Riverbank as much as possible that evening, and they sound like they're be supporting
Okay,
us.
so it'll be dedicated for Riverbank that night?
It's gonna be other calls for service. Obviously, we got to prioritize every call for service.
For
But
sure.
then something more priority comes in, they're gonna have to break for that. But they will be spending a lot of time that
For sure.
evening here.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing up some of those concerns. I know 4th of July is coming around the corner, so please enjoy the holiday, but be responsible about it. We do have veterans with PTSD. We got pets. We got families with newborn babies and I had to deal with this. She was, we're trying to put the baby to bed. She goes to bed and then boom, one goes off, wakes him up. And so we get it's hard to track, right? It's hard to stop. It's coming from across the border, Nevada mainly. And it's something we've tried to address, at the state level. But thank you and your team for addressing this and continuing to, keep our community safe. So appreciate it.
You know, and I did want to touch on that earlier, and I kind of glazed over it, is it does create a lot of panic in certain people, right? That may be susceptible to sounds or have prior experiences in their life that may cause unhappy reactions to that. Pets, for sure, right? It can cause pets to harm themselves, and pets that even can be severely injured from this, right? Running out into the street. So again, you're not only causing danger to your community, you're violating the law, but you're causing damage to others, people in this community. It's not okay.
I have a question. Will the drones be out too?
No drones, just the air support. We tried drones in the past. The issue with the drones we found is they don't have the map overlay. So trying to identify a residence over a long period of time, you can't tell exactly which address it's coming from. And also the cameras are nowhere near as great as they are on the helicopter. Yeah.
Have we used the map overlay in previous years?
We have not used the air support for fireworks.
This will be the first
This will
time.
be the first time.
Okay.
I have
No.
a comment.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't-
Sorry, thank you. Chief, thank you again for the ride along that I get to go along with you. And you guys are all talking about the cameras. We were over by the freeway and they got a call in the air that there was someone walking down the middle of the street in front of the Riverbank Industrial Complex. The camera zoomed in on it, and before we could turn around and fly, it was already on the screen and you could see the person. It was dusk. The camera and imagery on that is absolutely amazing. And I could see it really being very useful and helpful in these kinds of situations. So it was impressive. Thanks again.
Okay, just real quick, Chief, the state made it a felony to shoot off illegals. Are we going to go for felonies?
Right now, we're going the citation route. It's something we could definitely look at afterwards if we have an individual
someone-
identified.
We had one, when I rode along, got caught 3 times in 45 minutes. I mean, he wasn't the sharpest tool, but
Yeah, and that's a good point. You know, so if we're able to identify an individual person, right? Obviously, we're going to take that to a higher level because we know exactly who did it. But often it's a group of people and you see it came from a residence. So unfortunately, we're left targeting the homeowner, which I know is not the best case for somebody. But again, the homeowner is in front of their house having a large party and allowing this type of activity. That's not okay either.
but we saw the guy light it off. All right, thank you. Any others? Okay, thank you, Chief. We're going to move forward to public comment at this time. Members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during public comment cannot be discussed or acted upon.
Ms. Conrado?
Hello, my name is Karen Conrado. I live on Hogue Road. Good evening, Mayor O'Brien and Vice Mayor Jones Cruz. And City Council members, Mr. Rive and Ms. Hernandez and Mrs. Barbara Martinez and staff. Sure. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to let you know that I continue to oppose the proposed Riverwalk project. And I ask that you carefully consider all ramifications of this project to enable you to hopefully vote no for project approval. There's agency and private citizen responses to the DIR have been wide-ranging, blunt, specific, and to me very scathing for omissions, errors, inadequacies, serious non-compliance issues, including for CEQA. There have been over 1,000 pages of responses. Stanislaus County, for a few examples, Stanislaus County Environmental Review Committee noted the EIR Transportation Impact Analysis Report was not circulated with the DIR and requested to be circulated for review with an extension. of time for the public comment period to allow adequate review time for interested parties. Private citizens also made the request for additional time for review. And although the city council has allowed for some extensions of timelines, they did not allow additional time for this. The city of Modesto in their report noted that the city of Riverbank should not approve the project until it fully complies with CEQA by preparing and recirculating a new draft EIR. There were many comments like that, and I'm hoping that you take those very seriously into consideration before you vote. And I'll see you another time. Thank you very much.
Mr. Peterson?
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. Gary Pearson, a resident 2209 Cedarwood Circle, and District 3. I'm a lifelong farmer, retired from UC Davis after a long career. I have a career technical education specialist, 4th generation farmer, and I have nurturing the 5th generation farming. First, I'm opposed to the Riverwalk project. Again, to repeat, it's a removal of prime ag land of up to 1,000 acres, and replacing ag land is an extremely challenging endeavor. Second, with the recent substantial public comment regarding the project, in the 2,200 plus pages of the DIR, I was very disappointed as to the limited and sometimes lack of importance and details for the following areas. 1, the wastewater and related support system. This project as presented lacks significant planning for when the system flowing under the Stanislaus River were to fail. Doing a bit of historical research, I discovered the Riverbank waste system suffered significant failure during high river flows. Second, transportation studies. I've reviewed the study and conclude that while the EIR keeps saying certain areas of air quality, roads, construction, and traffic will impact the project, it does not clarify what the mitigation measures and how these mitigations will be monitored. In essence, it's kicking it down the road. And to whom? Levees and flooding. The levee was built some 70 plus years ago. It's had several breaches, resulting in the lower portion of the project to be underwater for weeks until repairs and drainage occurred. And currently, this levee has not been reviewed and approved by the Central Valley Flood Protection Commission nor the Army Corps of Engineers. Currently, as observed, the levee has rodents, mature trees, and substantial biological activities too numerous to mention here. I have reviewed the extensive report from the public comments on the biological resources along the river and the proposed site. This report, authored by a certificated and licensed wildlife specialist with 30 years of experience, concludes to say the proposed site has significant biological resources in plant and animal species, which would be significantly impacted by the project. The Native American and indigenous people. There are significant areas of the proposed site which were occupied for thousands of years by Native Americans. The river bottom has old burial sites and has established villages all along the river and the highlighted highland areas. If construction were to proceed, these areas would be substantially damaged and destroyed during the construction process. A forthcoming archaeological report will show many of the burial and village sites.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Lori?
Hello, everybody, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Lori Fail, and I'm an independent color street stylist. And I hustle my bustle to put bling in your spring. But I'm here tonight excited to ask that we get support for a grand opening and ribbon cutting for GNC on July 13th, which is a Saturday at 11 a.m. It was owned corporately, but now it is owned by a family. And so I'm excited for them. And Hector would have come tonight. He's the manager of the store, and the business owner, the owner of the store will also be there to welcome you all. So I hope you will save the date and time. I know you're all very busy and Saturday with all the things that are going on, but we'd appreciate it if you could come and say hello. And if I might speak to the chief real quick, is that okay? Just a comment?
We don't do, you address the council.
No, but may I?
You can. talk
Please
to them
keep
privately.
everything on the mic. I can't hear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you.
We have one on Zoom, Mayor. Ms. Sagers, please go ahead.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Jamie Yeager, 7730 McHenry Avenue, Modesto, California, outside the city of Riverbank, but within the proposed Riverwalk project area. I just wanted to make sure the council was aware that this week we will be kicking off our next signature gathering effort for the ballot initiative after having submitted all of the appropriate documents to the city. And our yard sign campaign continues to increase in breadth. Thank you.
All right, we proceed to the consent calendar consistent of item 9.1, waive readings, 9.2, approval of the City Council Local Redevelopment Authority Board minutes for June 11th, 2024. Item 9.3, acceptance of well 13 test well project and authorization to file a notice of completion. Item 9.4, resolution to reallocate $16,713.19 from the Parks Rent and Leases account to Capital Expenditures account to acquire a new dump trailer. With that, is there anyone from the council wishing to pull an item? Is there anyone from the public wishing to address an item? Saying none, I'll bring it back to the council.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent calendar as read.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve in a second on the consent calendar. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 10.1, public hearing resolution to adopt the revised groundwater sustainability plan.
Our Director of Public Works, Cody Bridgewater, will provide the staff report on this item.
Mayor, members of City Council, I hope you had your coffee today. This is a riveting subject. So just a little bit of background on the GSA, GSP, the STRG, but STRGBA is the Stanislaus and Tuolumne Rivers Groundwater Basin Association Groundwater Sustainability Agency. So it's a collective agency of 7 members, us being included, City of Oakdale, OID, MID, City of Modesto, and I believe Houston and one other. But basically, the portion of Modesto subbasin underlies our area and a portion of Tuolumne County. That's why Tuolumne County is involved with us as well. And the GSA was formed. So in January 2022, a groundwater sustainability plan, or GSP, for the Modesto subbasin was submitted to the DIR as required by state law. January 18th of 2024, sorry, the GSA has received formal notification from the DWR that our GSP was deficient in 2 areas. So the first deficiency is that the GSP does not provide sufficient information to support the selection of chronic lowering of groundwater levels, sustainable management criteria. Deficiency 2, the GSP does not include sufficient details of projects and management actions to mitigate overdraft in the subbasin or provide a feasible path to achieve sustainability. The proposed solution to the initial deficiency from the GSA to the DWR, we will provide additional assessment of land subsidence, water quality, and interconnected surface water to assess the impacts of beneficial uses and users from groundwater levels dropping below minimum thresholds, or MTs, to interim milestones as anticipated in the groundwater sustainability plan.
It included a well impact analysis to estimate the number of wells in the subbasin which may go dry as that occurs. And per DWR, the GSAs must describe how impacts including to those wells will be managed or mitigated. A well mitigation plan is proposed. Details such as the estimated cost, funding, and implementation schedule should be provided. So the GSA, the Modesto Subbasin GSA, is proposing by resolution to commit to a timeline of January 31, 2026 for the development and implementation of a well mitigation program. So over the next 18 months, the GSA will get together and form this well mitigation program to submit to the DWR in January of 2026. Likewise, with deficiency 2, the GSP was revised to include updated, additional, and more specific details of feasible projects that are planned to be implemented to mitigate overdraft and raise groundwater levels from interim measures towards minimum thresholds and up to measurable objectives to achieve sustainability. So we are tasked with the idea to come up with ways to sustain our groundwater levels in a healthy state. The DWR made it clear that development and implementation of management actions is necessary to offset uncertainties to ensure the reversal of groundwater decline at the 2027 interim measure and to achieve sustainable groundwater conditions by or before 2042. So the GSP was revised to place more emphasis on management actions. Recognizing these actions will take time and input to formally develop. So the GSA proposes by resolution to commit to the development of management actions by, again, January 31 of 2026, with implementation occurring no later than January 31 of 27. So these are the two proposals that the GSA is providing to the Department of Water Resources as solutions to the deficiencies that was found in the groundwater sustainability plan. So we are telling the state that over the next 18 months, we will come up with these two solutions to the problem that was laid out in the initial GSP that was adopted in January of 2022. And there is a copy of the revised GSB if you follow the link, sturgaba.org. And we have to adopt as the GSA by July 10th of 2024 with a submittal no later than July 16th, 2024 to DWR. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I do have a couple. First off, as long as the Stanislaus River is flowing, we have a sustainable
Yes.
groundwater. Once that stops flowing, we have 5 years of water. And I don't think that's gonna stop flowing. With about 3,300 acres that we have, the city encompasses, that's over 1 billion gallons of water that we recharge the aquifer with. A little less than what we take out of the ground from groundwater.
Yes.
If we find a way to replenish the delta, the difference, would that be suitable to the groundwater program?
Our main focus is the Modesto Subbasin specifically. So what takes place outside of our region is up to those subbasins and those GSAs. The main focus of the Modesto Subbasin GSA is within our direct footprint.
I understand we're in our direct footprint too. So Modesto has a couple of wells. We have 12, 13 coming on. I'm surprised they didn't go after arsenic. They just, what do you call it, lowered or the more stringent arsenic level?
Yeah, they lowered the
1 billionth.
the MCL
Yeah.
for the drinking water levels.
I'm surprised they didn't go after arsenic since that's a natural reoccurring.
Yeah, and as you have groundwater subsidence, it gets worse.
I'm so surprised they didn't go after that. Has anyone from Modesto's, I was involved in this in 2012 to 2016. And has anybody talked to the water board about it? If this is our plan, normally they pre-approve your plan if you're going to do a resubmittal?
No, it's not the water board that's handling
I
it.
know, it's the-
Department of Water Resources. It's a
Right.
separate entity. So no, there hasn't been any talk with the water board.
That's also kind of going blind. Because they just took over Kern County and their groundwater, and they believe all of their ground basins belongs to the state.
Yes, that's
So-
that's their new,
That's their new mantra.
their new logic. Yes.
Yes, so I'm concerned that we haven't did a hey, this is what we're coming up with. Would you approve it? Instead of having it, well, no, you didn't come up with it on our terms. Now we're gonna impose a fine for every gallon you pull out.
That's something I can relay to the board if you'd like.
I would. Who's in charge for the Modesto? Now.
For our GSA, I believe the board chair is Eric Thorborn with OID.
All right, that's what I had.
I don't really have a question, but Cody, thank you for kind of walking me through this yesterday. A lot of terms I didn't really understand, a lot of, way above my pay grade there. But I know we're kind of just voting on the proposal here. And as the mitigation kind of develops and stuff like that, when we're talking about sustainability, you kind of mentioned the 29 wells that are being impacted on the east side of the basin with the orchards and how much they're kind of pumping out there. So if you can kind of keep us in the loop, if there is some kind of metering or some kind of measuring that they can adopt to kind of curb that, I think that would be impactful, help with the sustainability of the basin. So appreciate that. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. I open it up for public comment.
We have one on Zoom, Mayor. The number ending in 3108, can you unmute?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, can you mute your,
Hello?
hi, can you hear us?
Hello?
Ms.
Can you
Halber,
hear
can you
me?
hear us? Can you turn down your computer or your phone, whatever you have in the background, please?
I have nothing in the background.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I just, I have a question, I have a clarification on the cost for this. In your resolution, I think it's about the third page down, it says in there that funding sources can be subject to Prop 218 process, and it can include GSA fees, assessments, groundwater pumping fees, penalties, agency funds, grant funding, and how much is this going to cost, and how much of this is going to end up on the backs of property owners or landowners, businesses, whatever? Who is going to be paying for all this funding?
Is that all your comment?
That's it.
Thank you.
No other public comment? I close public hearing. Bring it back. Cody, we've had funding set aside since 1990s when we first started this organization. When they go out, there's usually not much for any individual, but we do maintain it. Mainly it's on the backs of the water districts.
Yes, and so right now, during the implementation and the development of the mitigations plan and the management action plan, the GSA will be looking for grant and opportunities to help those residents that do have impacts to their water supplies.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right, I bring it to the council for consideration of the acceptance of the revised groundwater sustainability plan.
I'll make a
make a motion
motion
to
that
approve
we
item.
accept the Item 10.1 as stated.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Item 10.2, revise and adoption of proposed fiscal year 2024-5 Local Redevelopment Authority LRA budget.
Cody Bridgewater will also oversee this staff report.
Hello again. So this is the proposed fiscal year 24-25 budget for the LRA. We have, we'll just start with a little bit of history. The budget provides a look at the LRA's fiscal accountability and compliance with restrictions on the use of certain financial resources. And this report includes all funds as a whole to assess the LRA's financial condition in the coming year. And there are a number of different sources of revenue and expenditures that the LRA deals with. One being site revenue projections. The only revenue expected to come in the next fiscal year is from payments due from the master developer as per the negotiated lease. We have expenditures such as administrative costs and matches required by the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, which is a grant that we apply for each year that would cover the administrative portion of the LRA. And that grant revenue expires June 30th of 2024, but we have applied for additional funds for the next coming fiscal year. We are receiving from those grants 90% of our costs back. We have a 10% match that we have to make. So most of the funds that are received from that grant cover the operation expenses for the LRA itself. And then we have ESCA funds, which is a grant from the Department of Defense. And this is monies that we receive in order to perform remediation actions on the site, cleanup, things of that nature. So these revenues that we will project to receive should cover our costs for the ESCA funds the ESCA projects and administrative portions of the LRA. And we do have some funds that were set aside in Fund 197, which is the grant fund that was originally earmarked for some electrical equipment replacement, but has been reallocated due to a couple of pending litigation issues that we're dealing with on site. So Fund 197, again, is the leasehold. It counts for site revenue expenses, and we get part of that is the annual payment from the developer and general administrative expenses. And then we have Fund 198, which is our OLDCC grant, which handles the 90% of the administrative portions with the 10% match by the LRA. And the ESCA fund, Fund 199, is the remediation and disposal of contaminated equipment, soils, other materials on site that need to be remediated in order to use this the industrial complex in a safe manner. So our estimated revenues for 24-25 are $924,732, with expenditures of $1.451 million, showing a structural deficit of $526,921, most of that due to the potential litigation. And so ESCA 2, we still have the presses that are on site that need to be disposed of. We have contaminated substations, which are these large electrical transformers that still contain PCB oils that need to be either removed from the site or remediated. So we're currently looking into other technologies to remove that PCB oil and replace it with a more clean, environmentally friendly oil so that we can leave those transformers on site and not spend an abundant amount of money on replacing these transformers. So staff recommends that the LRA board adopt a resolution approving the proposed fiscal year budget for 24-25 and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Vice Mayor, do you have any questions? Okay. I have a quick one in replacing the oil on the transformers. Is this approved? Is there a process approved by the EPA?
Yes, we're currently working with the EPA on obtaining that process.
Okay, then that'll save you a lot of money.
Lots of money. Yes.
Lots of money, okay.
Yes, anywhere from 700 to 1.2 million per transfer.
Per transformer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you-
Sorry, I have to turn it off and on and no comments. Thank you though.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, this is a public hearing. I open this up for public input.
There's no one wishing to speak on Zoom.
I have no public input. I therefore close the public hearing, bring it back to the council to review, to adopt the proposed fiscal year 24-25.
Make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Item
second.
10.2 as stated.
We have a motion to approve and a second roll call, please.
Authority Member Uribe?
Yes.
Authority Member Hernandez?
Yes.
Authority Member Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Chair O'Brien?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
thank you again. Item 10.3, fiscal year 24-25 annual operating budget.
Tammy L. Cantor, your Assistant City Manager, will provide you the report on this item.
Good evening, everyone. Back for another exciting presentation for you guys tonight, our 24-25 budget. All right. So tonight I will be presenting to you the budget for our general fund, our special revenue funds, our system development fee funds, housing funds, sewer enterprise funds, and our water enterprise funds. So first, we're going to go over our general fund. And right now we are proposing that we've estimated that our reserve on July 1 of 24 would be at 7 million. We're projecting revenues at 12.1 million, with transfers in about 1 million, and then expenditures at 14 million, leaving a reserve for June 30th of 25 at 6.1 million or 44%. This does represent a structural deficit of 850,000. So I haven't included transfers in here due to the change in our personnel cost allocation. Our projected budget revenues from the current year 23-24 are at 11.8, and our proposed revenues are at 12.1, which is about a 3% change. And then just as I did at the previous meeting, just an example of why there have been some changes in the transfer ins and some increases in the salary costs, or how we are allocating the employees. So previously we would allocate, for example, our finance account clerk wages would be split between the general fund, the water, and the sewer. We would put the entire expenditure into the general fund, and then we would make transfers from the water or sewer into the general fund. What is being proposed in the current budget is that we will take those account clerk wages and split the expenditures into the three funds with no transfer in or transfer outs needing to be done. So here's a picture of our historical annual revenues, and you can see they primarily grow, but we see a small decrease in the proposed year. And again, that's because we are taking out a large amount of those transfer ins that were previously considered in the revenues. So some of our primary indicators in revenues is our property tax, and the State Board of Equalization has authorized for counties to do the increase of 2%. So we've taken that into consideration in our revenues. We still have new housing development underway in both our east and west Riverbank. And we have other associated revenue sources, which is our building permits and our VLF property tax swap. And these have all been projected at a very conservative rate, so that we're not over projecting. Our sales tax, we have seen a slight decrease this year with our new major retailer. I can say Costco now. We are anticipating a growth in those sales tax. And with the use of our sales tax consultant, we have currently projected the 11% growth. Our top 25 sales tax generators do contribute 74.5% of that. So in our general fund expenditures, our current year, we're expecting it to be around 16.2 million. Our 24-25 expenditures are at 14 million, a decrease of 2 million. And again, some of that is because we've taken out some of those wages that were in the expenditures before and are now putting them in the other funds. This is our overview of our general fund expense. And as you can see, our law enforcement contract is a large contributor to our expenditures in our general fund, which is very typical. So some of our anticipated expenditure changes, staffing costs, the 17.8% decrease, again, going back to our personnel allocation. But there is a negotiated cost of living adjustments of 4% in our two groups. And then we have the approved increase for mayor and council members, increase for cost of benefits, PERS, health, and workers' comp. And then we have included a new personnel for a facility maintenance worker, a part-time neighborhood improvement officer, and that officer would be split between neighborhood improvement, water, and SB 1383, a grant funding. So part of that salary would be paid through the grant. Law enforcement contract does include a 1% salary and benefit increase, an increase to our vehicle and replacement cost of 1%, dispatch at 10.5% increase, and then we'll continue our 300,000 funding from public benefit to help offset some of those increases. So for our capital outlay expenditures in the general fund, we have a proposed Kubota compact tractor for parks. We have some gym equipment for our law enforcement, IT switches, replacements, and upgrades, upgrading the city-wide to Microsoft Office 365. And then I have included in here the recreational financial sustainability strategy, which will be coming out of the recreation fund. But since recreation fund is heavily subsidized by the general fund, I have included it in this presentation here. There is one other project that will be discussed after this, which would be the downtown lighting project, the enhanced lighting project. So when we look into the future, things that we will need to consider is the continued effects of unfunded mandates, our SB 1383 and stormwater MS4 requirements, and then our continued gas tax fund subsidy, where our gas tax is not covering all of the maintenance costs that it's taking to maintain our roads. Higher inflation rates. Hopefully we're seeing some of that is leveling out, increase in construction cost, our minimum wage increases, which can cause an overflow effect in other areas, which is where the salary and compensation study can come from. Continue watching of our mortgage rates, our home prices, and rental rates. So with that, I will move on to our special revenue funds. These are legally restricted to be spent on specific areas or projects. That example would be gas tax, which is street maintenance or street capital projects. That allows sidewalk and curb and gutter work. Or our vehicle tow fund grants, police tow fund collected from towed vehicles for traffic enforcement. And then cannabis revenue and expenditures, which are to be spent on public benefits. So in our special revenue funds, we're currently projecting the beginning reserves to be at 7.1 million. We've estimated revenues at 7.2, and we have expenditures of 11.4 million with an ending reserve of 3 million. And I apologize, that is a structural deficit, not a surplus of 4.1 million. Several of these funds that are in our special revenue funds do operate with the structural deficit due to the nature of the revenues received, one-time revenues, grants, or state allocations. Some of them we do save up and we're expending them out in 1 year. Our system development fee funds. So these are legally restricted to be spent on projects identified in the approved system development fee program. Fees are paid by new development, both residential and commercial, and they are funding for infrastructure related to new development. One of our projects or a couple of our projects that are in these through our streets and public works is the Roselle and Patterson traffic signal, and then our Oakdale Road project. Our beginning reserves are estimated at 9.7 million. We have estimated revenues of 730,000, expenditures of 2.5, with an ending reserve of 7.9, excuse me. And again, this is one of those funds where we collect the money, and sometimes there's a massive outgo over after several years of storing the money up for the projects. Our housing funds. So these are funds that account for all of our current outstanding loans to residents for the first time home buyers program and the housing rehabilitation loan program. Loan repayments received must be used to provide future loans. Loans are typically a 30-year deferred loan for first time home buyers. And the city does continue to participate in the Stanislaus Urban County Consortium for CDBG and home funding in the upcoming year. We have beginning reserves of 13.2 million. Estimated repayments on our loans is at 52,000. And then expenditures are at 2.5 with an ending reserve of 10.7. Next, I'll go over.
Could you explain our expenditures on the housing? What are those programs that we're spending?
So it's our staffing time is in there, and then we do put some expenditures in there for potential loans. So
Okay,
so a lot of that expenditure in there is for potential loans out of
not
those funds.
actually executed yet.
Correct, yes. So our sewer enterprise funds, legally restricted to be spent on sewer-related operating expenses and projects. Revenues are paid by all city customers, residential, commercial, industrial, and new development. There are 4 different fund types: the operating fund, the debt service, capital improvement fund, and a connection fund. We receive 99% of our revenues from user fees. There is a 5.6 increase in revenues for increased service connections and based on our 5-year rate plan. And we've seen a decrease in the capital projects for this current fiscal year is being proposed. We have our lift station upgrades for projects coming up, our sewer line replacement alley between Sierra and Patterson, 1st to 8th. Sewer line replacement in the alley between Sierra and Stanislaus, 1st to 3rd. And then we have some small cost in there for the new public works building, furniture, IT needs, and some additional paving in the parking lot. Those costs are being split between water and sewer. We are estimating our beginning reserves to be at 11.1 million, our revenues at 6.1 million, with expenditures at 6.2, with an ending reserve of 11 million and a structural deficit of 107,000. So now we'll go into our water enterprise funds. Again, legally restricted to be spent on water-related items. Revenues are paid by all city customers, residential, commercial, industrial, new development. And we have three types of funds in our water enterprise. We have an operating fund, a capital improvement fund, and a connection fund. We are projecting a 1% increase in revenues, which is primarily due to our new service connections. The fund has been incurring a deficit for the past few years, and we will need to reevaluate rates in the near future. Current operation funds projects are 30,000 towards the Public Works new building, the furniture, IT needs, and the additional paving costs, which is being split with sewer. Out of our capital improvement fund, we have some emergency repair money that we set aside, the well 11 design, and the water line replacement for Sierra Alley 3rd to the 8th. And for all water enterprise activity, we have a beginning reserve at 7.1, estimated revenues at 3.4, estimated expenditures at 5.4, leaving us with an ending reserve of 5.1, or and it includes a structural deficit of 1.9 million. So that is the presentation that I have tonight. This is our overall annual budget review. So it's beginning reserves for citywide, all funds, 55 million. We have almost 31 million in revenues, 42 million in expenditures, estimating an ending reserve of 44 million with a structural deficit of 11.3 million. And I am happy to answer any questions that the council might have. Of course, it is staff's recommendation tonight that we would adopt the budget. And I can answer any questions that you might have on that presentation. And then we have the one more project for you guys to consider too.
So just one quick question. You said the Water Enterprise Fund will need to assess because we're going continually into a deficit. What's the kind of the timeline for that staff's been discussing?
Yeah, so I would anticipate in this upcoming fiscal year that we'll be looking at going out for an RFP to do a rate study on it.
Okay.
Rates have not been adjusted since 2019.
Right. And then I do have one more question but that'll be for that next project that you guys are going to be presenting.
I had a question about, I think you said well number 11. Is that a new well? Did you say it was a new well? I think.
Yes, it's well number
7.
It is well number 11,
Yeah, I just wanted
so you'll
location.
find that it's actually out of sync with the other wells that we've been talking about.
Right.
So well 11 was a site that we acquired probably 10 or so years ago, which is on the east side. And so we've had the site for quite some time, just no funding to be able to actually construct the well. We've now got some funding available. And so Cody has started to work with our city engineer to start that design. And so that's why we are reflecting design cost for that particular well.
Not that I'm a well expert. I just didn't remember hearing about well number.
Yeah, so that one we've had for quite some
Thank you.
time. There's already an existing test well there. Earlier this evening, you did approve or accept the test well for well number 13, which is the new well that's going to be on the west side to service Crossroads West.
Okay, this is a public hearing.
Mayor, I would recommend that you wait to open the public hearing until after we have considered the second item so that any public comments can also come back and consider that item.
And I did have one comment, if this is.
Sure.
I can insert just really quick. I did have two questions. They were answered previously by Maricela. One was with the increase in the Parks and Rec, one of the line items. I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, 42,000. And she explained that to me. Can you just go over that again, Maricela, for the public? Just
Yes,
For
so that was the new project that was listed in today's presentation, that Recreation Financial Sustainability Project.
Perfect. And the only other question I had that was answered previously was a line item in the housing for the incurred costs at Sierra House. So those were my only two concerns, and they were answered earlier.
So
Thank you.
We can bring back up the PowerPoint, and then I'll ask Michael to come up and present the other project for consideration.
Good evening, council. So at the last city council meeting, we talked about a project that would enhance our downtown revitalization, trying to get some nice amenities out here at downtown. Some of the questions were, what was proposed was uplighting here downtown. And some of the questions were asked were, what is uplighting? What does it look like? And so we want to show you some pictures of what uplighting is. So it's little lights that you plug into the electrical boxes on the ground. You stake the light in and you can angle it up and it lights up the tree from down low. The lighting that we have been looking at is, what's the right word? It's the wrong word, but it's technologically enhanced where we can control the lights mobilely. We can adjust colors, set up cadences, and do some fun things with it. But here's some more basic stuff that we're kind of looking at here, what uplighting is. Along with this quote that we received, we asked the vendor for some pole mounts for lights on some of the light poles here downtown. And so the vendor that we approached gave us some ideas of what they are capable of doing. So they created 2 mock-ups. Keep in mind that if the city council does elect to move forward with a project like this, we can propose different ideas, different designs. But here's just 2 that they found on Google Images of Riverbank and mocked them up.
And are these LED displays or what is this exactly?
Yes, it's LED.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So here's kind of what they did. They grabbed a screenshot of here at the intersection of what it would look like with the uplighting, and then the pole mount right there.
So the pole mount is directly on our street lights. We currently use that. We put up banners, sometimes for cheese and wine, sometimes for the holidays. So that's basically where these would be placed if we were to purchase.
And so what we did when we requested the quote from the contractor, I went out and counted all the trees in this red marked area downtown along with the light poles. So the proposal that you're going to see is in this affected area right here. So going pretty much up, excuse me, I'm still trying to learn my streets here. I think it's Atchison up the top going down to Sierra, and then you have 2nd going all the way to 4th. So again, the numbers of light poles that we have in this area is 65. The vendor, they had different sizes of lights you want. So they go as low as 5 feet in size, 6 feet, and 7 feet. Obviously, the bigger you want, the increase in cost is per unit. So if you go for the 5 foot and have the intention of putting one on each pole downtown, you're looking at about $54,509. Want to go a little bit bigger, up to 6 feet, $59,150. And then the biggest was 7 foot, $72,709. With the uplighting, they're called RGB lighting. That's kind of the fancy term to make it where you have that mobile access to mess around with them. We did request a quote from the vendor for this. It was not received in time. They have 2 different departments. One is the pole lighting, one is the mount lighting. The people that give us the pole lighting quote were on it. I guess the ground uplighting, they were a little bit slow right there. But in October 2023, Maricela received a quote from this vendor, and we compared it to the quote that they gave with the uplighting. It was about 28.5% increase from the quote that Maricela got in 2023 to the quote that we got for the pole lighting. So what we did was we grabbed the quote that Maricela got for the the uplighting in 2023, which was $550 per unit, and we kind of put that projection of 20.5% on the uplighting, which would make about $706.75 per unit. So we went out and counted how many trees we have and electrical boxes outside we have in that red area on the map. we have about 110 trees. So if you times that by 700 or $706.75, you get $77,742.50. And so what we want to do is staff has proposed a few options for council to look at and consider with this project. Option one is the original project, which includes the 110 RGB uplights and then the 65 light poles, which would be at the 5-foot size for the lights. Here's the breakdown of the cost. The total cost would be $132,251.50. Option two would be to reduce the scope of the project. We would propose keeping the 110 uplights and then reducing the pole mounts to 28 5-foot size. And we primarily put them at intersections at the light poles there. We have Atchison in third, Topeka in third, Santa Fe in third, Sierra third, Santa Fe in second, and Santa Fe in fourth. And so with that reduced cost, this total project would be around $101,223.30. We do have a couple other options. One other would be, this is a downtown revitalization project. There are grant funds out there. We as a Parks and Recreation Department, since we are involved with downtown, are more than happy to seek grant funding to help subsidize this project. The downside would be is you're prolonging this project. So if you're wanting to get this project going as soon as possible, with the seeking grant funding, applying, receiving the awards, moving forward with bidding, it's going to take a little bit longer there. And the last option is not approve the project for this upcoming fiscal year. Any questions from council?
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. So for the pole mounting, sorry, so it's LED, it's just projected out of the pole. Is that what I'm looking at?
So they have so on the poles, there are outlets at the top. So they do have that cord that you plug in and ties into, or it's connected to the light itself.
Okay, and it just projects that one image. There's
That's
no way
correct.
of like changing it,
No, it's
right? It's just that one.
that one.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I do like option two. I think, so we've been looking at this for a little over 3 years. It's something that the downtown businesses have asked for. They've wanted it. It's this proposal. It's got the coverage that it would cover every business in that downtown core that staff has proposed. The price for the 110 was a $77K, far less than we've been seeing. We've been seeing projections $200K, $200,000 and above. So the price is, I think reasonable. It's a mounted light for the 110 trees. I would like to move forward with the uplighting. The pole mounting, I don't know. I can go either way. We can go for the grant funding that you said could be available to help fund that for the 28 and kind of go from there. But if council's up for just funding the full thing now, I'd be up for that too. But I definitely would like to see that uplighting. A lot of businesses have been asking and asking. It's just the cost, the price, it just wasn't there. For 110 lights, $77K. I think that's pretty reasonable.
One thing I will, if I can add, that we don't have in here is the upkeep and maintenance. We are going to be plugging them into power, so we'll be paying the utility bill with the uplighting to be attached to the ground. One issue that we do see is when people park, our outlet boxes are closer to that parking spot. So we have seen that some pull close and knock it over. So there might be future projected damages, vandalism, stolen. So just be aware that this may not be a one-time cost. It would be ongoing expenditures to maintain this.
I want to support the uplighting. How old is our logo? And we were having conversation about that.
I honestly do not know how old it is. It's fairly old, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, just putting on my marketing communications hat, it's as aesthetically, it's not legible. I think parts of it are a little outdated, and maybe not representative of our modern city, and still even I think could be more pay more tribute to our history. I think I'd want to take a pause on the pole lighting to visit potentially as a council looking over a modernized logo, and then reconsidering this moving forward. I think it would go in line with us wanting to do higher communications and looking into that currently. So I'm, recommending we look at the uplighting, take a pause on the poll to look at future revitalizing of the logo itself.
I have some comments.
You can wait, please, Vice Mayor.
Sure.
Well, you mentioned the electrical costs because we'd have to put it into ground. Would solar be an option to this?
We could investigate that. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the option there, but we could definitely look into it. Yeah.
Well, I think I like the uplighting. I think that would be very, to start off with, just being more attractive for downtown.
Vice Mayor.
Well, thanks very much. I'm super excited about this project. When Pete DeMattis and I started the Downtown Business Coalition, I remember the council came to our meetings and spoke about some things we could do downtown. And this happened to be one of the things that all of the businesses that attended and participated in it could agree upon. It's kind of hard to get that bunch all on the same page with anything because they're running their own businesses. They're all different. They're all on their own track. And so to have one thing in common, it was pretty cool to do. Pete's been in contact with me. He's very excited about this project. I am too. I appreciate all the comments that I've heard tonight. I would like to do option 2. I don't think the 68 LED pole lights are a necessity. I really like them at the intersections. I do feel pretty strongly about the logo. Sorry, Rachel. It has a lot of traditional and history behind it. So I'm in favor of going forward with it with the logo, but I'm one voice here and everybody's opinion and comments are very important. So thank you.
I open this up for public comments.
Mayor, we have one on Zoom. Number ending in 3108. Can you hear us?
I'm here.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm a little bit confused because we're still on a public hearing for the budget. And this item is not an agendized item. There's nothing on in the agenda of any of the stuff that was given the presentation. So the public knows nothing about it at all. I think the public needs to be able to have an opinion too, which they can't have if it's not an agendized item and it's not on the agenda. I think you're a little premature in voting on it until everybody knows about it. Secondly, I think you need to take into consideration the Downtown Pacific Plan and what it's called for in there for lighting down there also, because that's what governs our downtown. But most importantly is the public. They need to be included, and they can't be included if you're going to vote on an unagendized item with no information in the agenda about it. Thank you.
Any other public? Close the public hearing, bring it back.
Oh, we have another one, Mayor. They just raised their hand.
All right.
Mr. DeMattis, can you please unmute?
Hi, yeah, hey, good evening. This is Pete DeMattis. I definitely am supportive of the project. Looks really good. Everybody's been working really hard on it, and I appreciate the fact that it's being put together and it really looks good. I kind of agree, less pole lights, but definitely have some in there at the intersections, and the uplighting looks great. So just thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That is all, Mayor.
So with regards to the comment about this not being an agendized item, this discussion is part of our budget discussion, which is why it's being discussed at this point in time. So it is an agendized item. The city council has the discretion at any time to be able to have discussions about budget, about projects. And since this was a global discussion about the upcoming fiscal year budget, we are presenting this item to be included in the fiscal year budget. It was also requested by the majority of the city council at the last meeting to be included in today's discussion. Therefore, it has been agendized.
All right. Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion, if that's okay.
One more.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, do you have any further comments?
No, not at this time, but let me make,
Okay,
I need a clarification. I'm sorry, clarification. Are we making any motion on this item? Don't we just accept? Or any recommendations? Can you go?
You're going to be making a motion on the budget as a whole with a recommendation on whether or not to include the project and the scope of the project is what I would.
So our vote will include both things. And
Correct,
which recommendation?
correct.
That clarification is not only just for me. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to make a recommendation to approve item 10.3 with the recommendation of option 3. Is that okay? We can make up our own.
And to clarify, option 3 is just the uplighting.
Right, so I'll clarify what that is. So it'll be option 3, it'll be the 110 uplights. And then we have staff seek that grant funding for the pole mounts.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the budget with the amendment for the uplighting option 3 and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 11.1, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a law enforcement service. Oh, by the way, Tammy, thank you very much. I know that was a lot of work for you and your staff. Services contract from July 2024 through June 2029 with Stanislaus County.
The mayor and council, you get me for the next couple of staff reports. And so this one is with regards to a updated contract for law enforcement services provided by the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department. So just a little bit of history for our residents who may not be aware that we've been under contract with Stanislaus County for law enforcement services since 1995. At that point in time, the city was facing some fiscal challenges. Tammy shared today that currently our law enforcement contract is approximately 44% of the city's budget. Back then, it was 61% of the budget. And that was when we had our own police department. Council wanted to prevent the layoff of our police employees due to the budget deficits they were facing. Therefore, they started to explore some alternatives, one of them being a contract with the Sheriff's Department. So that first contract was for approximately $8,000. We're now at about 6.2 million. But at that time, it only included half of a lieutenant, so we would have only gotten half of Chief Ridenauer, 2 sergeants, 9 deputies, 1 CSO, and 2 legal clerks. And a lot of the employees that were here with the Riverbank Police Department were able to transition over to the Sheriff's Department and remained with the city as the assigned deputies. So here's some of the key terms of our law enforcement contract. There has not been any significant changes made to the contract itself. So a lot of these are terms that are already existing. So this is a 5-year contract that we're looking to be able to sign with the Sheriff's Department. So it would go from July 1st of 24 to June 30th of 2029. And then here are all of the items, probably not all, but here's a brief highlight of some of the services that we are able to take advantage of through the Sheriff's Department, but that we do not get billed separately for. So case property management, records management, CSI, administration and payroll, so we don't have to do that ourselves. The SWAT team, air support. You heard earlier today that we were going to be able to take advantage of air support for our illegal fireworks enforcement. The bomb team, the MATE team, hostage negotiation team. We also receive dispatch services provided through SR 911. Those services are provided directly to the sheriff's department, but we do contribute towards that to ensure that Riverbank is paying its fair share. So here's our current staffing, and sorry that this is a little difficult to read, but we do have 22 sworn officers, including our chief and lieutenant. We have our community services officer, as well as a supervising legal clerk and 2 legal clerks, in addition to those sworn officers. So currently, based on the standard 1,000 or 1 police per 1,000 population standard that's kind of set, we have about 88% of that covered. Here are the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which was already included in the previously adopted budget just an item ago. So we are looking at an approximate contract amount for fiscal year 24-25 of about 6.1 million. Future years are just estimates based on just an inflationary factor, of course. When there are renegotiations for labor contracts, those costs do get passed down. SR 911 dispatch services are calculated on an annual basis based on service calls, based on population, and so those will change on an annual basis. So the future years are estimates at this point in time. And I'm going to share something that I have shared with a couple of council members through our discussions about this contract. The city of Lathrop in the past couple of years actually transitioned away from San Joaquin Sheriff's Department to having their own police department. They are approximately 35,000 in population and have 35 sworn officers. Their budget is 13 million for the upcoming fiscal year, which would be more than double of our current budget and which would be almost our entire general fund budget in costs. I know there's been some comments made about why doesn't Riverbank have its own police department? This is one of the reasons. It is a cost benefit to the city. Plus, we receive excellent services from the sheriff department. So I don't see at this point in time the city proceeding with its own police department due to the cost.
And just to clarify, Mary, so that Lathrop doesn't have air support, none of the other subcategories there. Yeah.
They would not be able to have those take advantage of. They would probably contract with San Joaquin County if they were to want to use those resources. And so they would have to pay for those separately. So here are the updated terms, and it was all related to equipment and vehicles and our motorcycles, mostly to clarify who owns what at the end of the day. Obviously, when the city transitioned over to the sheriff's department, we came with our own vehicles. We had our own building. We had furniture that we brought in. So they did clarify that if we were to terminate the contract, the county would transfer back title to our vehicles of similar because obviously those were 1995 vehicles that are no longer in existence. So we would get something similar to that than what was originally transferred to them. They currently maintain the title. They hold all of the insurance on the vehicles. They are the ones responsible for the upkeep for the change out whenever they do need to get changed. Motorcycles, the city owns those 100%. And so we do not pay the sheriff's department for maintenance of the motorcycles. We tend to contract that out, especially if they are Harley or if they're a BMW. We prefer to go directly to the dealerships to get those serviced. And so those will now make sure that they get billed directly to the city rather than having to go through the county for those. But we do own those outright. Whenever they do need to be surplused, the city does have to fund an entire cost of that. Of course, we get a little bit back because we can sell it, but that just offsets the cost of a new motorcycle. And that part of it is entirely optional. We are not required to have motorcycles. We're not required to have motorcycle officers, but it certainly is a benefit for our growing city. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, office equipment, safety equipment that initially went to them when we transitioned over, they would give us something similar to what we originally transferred to them. So that's the only change that was really made to this contract. And so our recommendation is to authorize the mayor to sign a new 5-year agreement for law enforcement services with Stanislaus County. I'm available for any questions you may have on the contract itself. If you have any service-related questions, I'm sure Chief Friedenauer can provide some information regarding that.
Are there any questions before I go public?
I don't have a question, just a comment that I really appreciate the chief and the staff, our deputies. I think that they have gone above and beyond just protecting our city, providing community support, just being out there in a presence. And it has really, I think, made a difference for our residents. And I really appreciate all that they've done. Thank you.
Ursula, did you include the SRO cost in that? I don't think I saw it on your slide.
It's not on the slide, but
But
he is
it
a
is
regular,
on the-
he's a regular sworn deputy, so we don't like segregate him out.
I just want to say the same thing. What we fail to see these budgets are the indirect benefits of the relationships and the culture you've built with the officers and your team. So thank you.
And Chief, to your staff, I work in another city. I'm not going to bash them or anything, but the police don't even show up at all. They want everything done. And your response time of 4 minutes or less is just a testament to the dedication of your officers. We had a killing out in front of the AMPM in 2010. Betancourt was killed. The Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department came together and caught the culprits in Turlock within, I want to say 4 days, but most of the work was done within the first 16 hours. And we could not have done that if we were an independent entity. So again, I appreciate your staff's dedication. Is there any public comment on this?
Mayor, there's no one on Zoom wishing to speak.
Can I bring it back to the council for consideration?
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.1.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve and a second, item 11.1. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
11.2, resolution approving the memorandum of agreement with the Stanislaus Equity Partner, Inc. for the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program funds for the Bridge Covenant Village development.
Mayor and council, over the past couple of months, you've heard me talk about the permanent local housing allocation funds that the city receives through the SB2 funds that are issued from the state of California. This is a request for funding for a existing development that is underway that has run into some financial difficulties and that we feel is a good fit for funding from this program. So just to give a brief background on PLHA, it's funded via SB2. The city allocation plan was approved in July of 2020 and amended in December of 2021. The amendment allowed for the first 3 years, so the 2019, 2020, and 2021 funding to go towards affordable rental or housing ownership projects. So with that change, that allowed us to approve an MOU with Carrie Pope for Ward Villas, which is now the River Terrace project. It allocated the first 3 years of that funding towards the development. The agreement was amended in 2023 to allow for a change in the income limits for the residents that would be able to take advantage of the purchase of the homes. But unfortunately, due to rising interest rates, despite the change in the income limits, the project was not able to make the regulations work, and a refund is being made to the city. This is where the Riverbank Village comes in. So Stanislaus Equity Partners is the developer of this project. Riverbank Village, Stanislaus Equity Partners, excuse me, is a 501c3 community development corporation. This is what they do. They were founded in 2021. They've developed or are in process of developing over 90 housing units since 2022. The key partners that they have on this project is Center for Human Services, who's going to provide the wraparound services and case management for them. R3, which is the developer, they're the ones who are going to actually build the tiny homes that will be located at this development. And Stanislaus County Affordable Housing Corporation will be their property manager. So the Riverbank Villages is going to be located on Morrell and Oakdale Road at the Bridge Covenant Church project. It's an 8-unit, their first phase is an 8-unit permanent supportive housing project. They've already received their approvals for architecture and site plan review back in September of 23. And as I mentioned previously, the owners are Stanislaus Equity Partners. So here's just a quick site plan for residents or council who might not be as familiar with the project. So Morrell is down at the bottom, and then you've got Oakdale Road, off to the side. Zellman Court faces that development as well. And so the 8 units that are located there are the units that are going to be that we're going to help fund through this request. Here's just a brief overview of the floor plans that were presented to the Planning Commission as part of their architectural and site plan review. So here is a request. So currently they do have funding through a program called CalAIM. They have funding that they've provided themselves. So there is some buy-in from the developers with Stanislaus Equity Partners, or STEP. They currently have a $250,000 funding shortfall due to some additional on-site work that needs to be completed. And so that is their formal request to the City Council. So the memorandum of agreement would provide them with $250,000 in the PLHA funding. We did already vet this project through the state of California in order to ensure that the project would be supported by them when we resubmitted the project, because originally we had shared with them that all of the funds were being used for the Ward Villas project. The developer is going to rent homes to individuals who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and they will work through the county's coordinated entry system in order to do so. They are going to be required to provide annual reports to the city of occupancy information and general management performance. We did put in there that the city reserves the right to inspect the premises upon 48 hours notice, and they were perfectly fine with that. They have similar clauses on some of the other developments that they've constructed, so they are very familiar with this funding source and its regulations. And then, of course, they are indemnifying the city that in the event that there was any accidents or any claims against them, that they would defend the city and hold us harmless. So our recommendation is the consideration of the approval of a memorandum of agreement with Stanislaus Equity Partners for $250,000 in PLHA funding towards this project, and would be a great use of the funds being refunded by the former Ward Villas project. I am available for any questions.
Any questions?
Just clarity on one. Can we go back to the map of the parcel? And how do they plan? So I know it's for homeless or at-risk homeless. I'm assuming they probably will own cars though. What's the plan for parking here for all 8 of the units
So
there?
that darker gray shaded area that you see that kind of separates one part of the development from the other
Oh, that's
is
parking.
actually parking.
Perfect.
Because it also provides parking for the existing building, which is a church,
Got it.
which they're also providing enhancements for, just as part of the development that they're doing.
And then as they develop the future other parcels, that'll be enough space for them as well.
Yeah, the
Okay.
other parcels are intended to be larger, basically single-family homes.
Okay.
So they'll have garages built into them.
Perfect.
Vice Mayor, do you have any questions?
Sorry, there's delay in the mic when I shut it off. But you don't need to hear my dog whining in the background because he thinks he needs to eat. So no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on item 11.2?
Mayor, there is no one on Zoom wishing to speak.
And I see no one here. I bring it back to the council for consideration.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.2.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve 11.2 and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. 11.3, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Condor Earth for site characterization work related to solar project at the wastewater treatment plant, to execution of a change order with Site Logic for additional work related to the site characterization. And 3, appropriation of $104,000 from the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund 108 for the Condor Earth contract and Site Logic change order.
So over the past 2 years, the city has been working on a solar project throughout the city, not only just at the wastewater treatment plant, but also at our community center, at Wharton Park, and at the police department. So the other 3 have already been completed. The one that is pending is the one at the wastewater treatment plant due to additional work that's being presented today. So this project was originally approved in February of 2022. The project itself at the wastewater treatment plant is an electrical grid, carport structure, and a ballasted ground mounted system. The cost is $3.6 million, which is being funded via a loan that we had to take out and is being repaid via the energy savings that are anticipated for the project. So this graphical representation down at the bottom, you'll see those blue lines. That is where the solar mounted project is anticipated to go. And currently, when we went out to get our permits through San Joaquin County, because that area is a former landfill, their Department of Environmental Health requested additional information regarding that landfill. They asked us to determine the approximate horizontal and vertical extents of the disposal site and to characterize the contents of the material. So basically tell them, is it hazardous or is it non-hazardous? Site Logic is then going to use that data to prepare what's called a post-closure land use plan, which ensures that the landfill closure and maintenance and reuse of the disposal site to conform with state standards, and then also does enact some monitoring and testing requirements for a 30-year period. This is the area that Site Logic and Condor Earth anticipate having to trench and to test in order to prepare that characterization, and then in order to prepare that post-closure land use plan. We did request proposals for the site characterization work. Condor Earth did come in significantly cheaper than the other two. That's because they actually perform very similar work at the wastewater treatment plant in Oakdale. Therefore, they're very much familiar with Stanislaus County and are, easy to dig into earth. So they know how to work around that and have given us a very good proposal to be able to move forward. So the total cost that we're anticipating is $104,000. That does include the contract with Condor Earth, plus the additional cost from SiteLogic to prepare the plan. And then we just added a very small contingency in there in the event there's some unanticipated cost. And so the recommendation is to award the contract to Condor Earth, authorize the change order for SiteLogic, and then appropriate the additional funds from the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. And I'm available for any questions should you have those.
Do we have any questions from the council? Oh, that looks good.
Luckily, that was the last presentation for tonight, so.
Do we have any public comment on item 11.3?
There's no one on Zoom wishing to speak, Mayor.
Okay, I bring it back to the council for consideration.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.3.
I second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Staff comments.
Okay, I swear this is the last time you'll hear me speak. Oh, wait, no, we've got closed sessions. So city offices will be closed tomorrow morning from 8 to 9:30 so that staff can attend some mandatory training regarding workplace violence. We want to make sure we are in compliance with our state regulations, which requires that we hold this training before July 1st. So city offices will be closed during that time so everyone can attend. City offices will also be closed on Thursday, 7/4 for the 4th of July holiday. And the offices are also closed on 7/5 Friday as part of our normal schedule. Our 2024 elections are upon us, and this year the mayor, council member District 2, and District 4 seats are up for election. That nomination period will begin on Monday, July 15th, and will go through August 9th at 5 p.m. All candidates, including incumbents who are going to seek re-election, should contact the city clerk and elections official for more information and to make an appointment. The Riverbank Tuesday Market will begin on July 9th. There's going to be vendors, entertainment, and a kids corner in the plaza. And so that is here in downtown. Our next movie in the park will be Saturday, July 13th at Jacob Myers Park, where they'll be playing The Guardian. Bring your snacks, chairs, and blankets, and the movie starts at dusk. And as part of the city's update to its housing element, we are required to seek input from the public. The city has developed a survey that has now been posted to the city's website for residents, developers, and interested parties to help identify housing conditions, needs, and priorities. A public workshop is being scheduled for Wednesday, July 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Riverbank Community Center. If you'd like to put that on your calendar, we are going to agendize and public notice that particular public workshop, which will allow both the Planning Commission and all of the city council members to attend. And that is all from staff.
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez.
I just want to say thank you to Christina Avalos for hosting the Mexico event. It feels like a lifetime ago, a couple weeks ago. It was great, and it's really a celebration of the Mexican culture here in the community. So thank you.
Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did have an opportunity to take another tour of Canarize. The owner reached out. They wanted to just kind of share an updated business model, kind of their future development. And we do have several DA agreements coming forward to council. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to meet with him and just ask questions about how the business is going. I did also attend the cultural event that Councilmember Hernandez mentioned. Spoke to the public about the city's continued support about these cultural events, and the appreciation of just holding that event here in Riverbank means a lot to our Hispanic community. And everyone, please have a safe 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Okay, so I attended the Public Safety Committee with the League of California Cities. We discussed retail theft, mental health and substance use disorder treatment. And just want to mention that there were 12 retail theft bills that were sent to the governor's desk for signature. The district attorney's initiative to reform Prop 47 was also discussed, and we will be in support of that. The Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act, we voted to support that. And this measure would increase penalties for trafficking of hard drugs, including fentanyl, increase penalties for those who repeatedly engage in theft, add new laws to address the problem of smash and grabs and organized retail theft, and provide diversion programs for repeat offenders. That retail theft has been experienced by every single city, whether it be large, small, or whatever, but I think every city that was on that committee with me, we all had the same sentiments that something needs to be done. I also was able to attend briefly the Juneteenth event that was held at our community center. And I wasn't able to stay, but the beginning of it turned out perfect for me. And I think that it was a good event for people to learn about other cultures, learn about your neighbor, and just share information. Remember that Safe and Sane fireworks starts Friday of this week. Also, our bicycle rodeo, Kids Health and Safety Annual Fun Fair, again, is on July 10th, 5:30 to 8, right out front here. And with the heat, please remember to stay hydrated, check on your neighbors, especially elderly, and happy July 4th to everyone. Be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Darlene, my apologies. My elderly dog really is struggling with this whole process, and he thinks he needs to eat now. I just wanted to thank the city staff and everyone involved for making this happen tonight. I wanted to be there. I could not. And so I really appreciate all of the changes. And I know it wasn't always convenient, but it was important. And I really just wanted to voice thank you on that. I do have a couple things on my list here. You heard me reference several phone calls that I was calling back folks today and going over with them. And you heard me talk about the parks one. The other one was housing. And housing is a hard one. And I'm just going to take a couple minutes time here and just say a couple things that are near and dear to my heart. This whole housing thing is a very complex, complicated issue. And there's so many pieces that have to all fall into place. And this is coming only from me personally. And I've been questioned and scrutinized on why I vote like I do. Please continue calling me and asking me. I'm happy to go over any of those personally with you. And I encourage that process. But voting on housing, it's complicated, and it's taken a long time for me to kind of get all the pieces there. And I just wanted to kind of, just in a nutshell, talk about, there's 4 or 5 different things going on, and there's 4 or 5 different points of views, and there's some things that have to be done and follow the law. So when we get up here and vote on items, they've gone through quite a process through planning, etc. But I think one thing, I'll get to the point here. I even wrote myself notes so I wouldn't get off track. When we have comments and there's all kinds of pieces there, I just wanted to kind of put those in a nutshell. There's all sides. I appreciate the public interest folks that have concerns about the size of our city and how we're growing and where we're putting tiny house villages, and that process of having special interest groups and folks coming in and speaking at our council meetings are very, very important. Keep up the good work. Keep coming to the meetings. Keep giving us your opinions. Your opinions are important in this process. It's important that we hear all sides, whether we agree, and I'm speaking when I say we, me, that we don't always necessarily have to agree, but we do need to hear all of it, and be respectful of everybody's different opinions. This is a process that is not always easy to go through. It's long and involved, and the mayor will always say it's government and it takes a long time. And then when things take a long time, the prices increase. It's just, there's all kinds of layers to coming down to just a yes or no vote. And sometimes when a yes or no vote is cast by myself, there's all these other things that are not maybe visible, that have gone on to get there to that vote. And I just want to kind of put that out there. Riverwalk is a very hot topic, and I appreciate those folks, and I appreciate their point of view that come in and tell us. But remember, there's always another side of the coin, and we have to really think of those. And I take it as my job to look at both of those sides, and then look at where the city has to stand in and what the city's responsibilities and job is to our constituents. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, to just remember to always show a little grace and some patience, and make sure to stop for a moment and think and listen to other, opposing ways and ideas. One thing you don't hear a whole lot about is the farmer that owns that land. And I'm speaking only for myself. I went out and toured it, and it's beautiful. I'm completely torn. 3,800 homes, that's a lot. And to see that ag and farmland go away, yes, I hear all the comments. I hear all of them. But sometimes we don't see some of the things in the background, the demands that the state puts on us, the demands that the county put on us. Those all have to be taken into consideration. And I just wanted to personally just speak a little bit about that tonight, and just kind of share something that was on my heart, that those votes that we make for housing, and some things have been, planned for months down on the road, and it's finally now coming to council. Those votes from us, me, are not done lightly, and they're done with all of those pieces considered, and they're all really important pieces. But that land, one thing I want to say is, right now, the farming and the investment that they made, this is the other side of it. They can't sustain that farm. Yes, it's beautiful ag and farmland, but I think, in my opinion, the writing on the wall is they can't sustain that. So being good business people, they're out trying to find an alternative. I'm not saying the alternative's good. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that there's not just one way of thinking of this. You've got to have an open mind. I have to have an open mind in all of this. And I hope that some of the things that I've been mulling over in the last few weeks and months, and with the opening of our new Costco and celebrating that, and gosh darn, how fabulous was that? What a showcase for Riverbank. And it was just, but it brings traffic. And so with those kind of projects, all those heartaches and all those struggles go along with it. And it's complicated, and there's so many pieces. And I think that I can do a better job of definitely just keeping an open mind to all of the sides that we hear, all of the people's opinion, because there's not just one right way. And hopefully sometime down the road, we can come to a consensus on this housing. The state, man, if you really want to make a difference, that's where your words and your votes and your time spent is well done, because the state puts demands on us sitting up there, that we have to take into consideration. If we don't vote and work on these housing projects, we lose grant funding. If we lose grant funding, we can't do projects like the crossing for the church, widening bike paths. If you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about it, spend a lot of time on it. So I just want to encourage people to kind of stop, take account, spend some time and ponder. And I love what the Reverend says. Remember, our goal here is we want the city to be the best city ever, and it is, but we want it to continue to be that. And we want it to be like longevity. What we do now makes huge impacts years from now, and we don't even realize it. So those are pretty heavy duty things for council member me to think about. And when I'm scrutinized and yelled at for the way I vote, there you have it. On that note, I just want to thank all of you for the job well done for the city, the rec department. I want to wish all of you a very Merry 4th of July. Please stay cool out there. Please check on your neighbors and the four-legged furry friends. Don't leave them out in this heat. It's really hard on them. With that, I'll end. Thank you, Mayor, for the time. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. At the end of this fiscal year, I wanted to basically say a couple of the things that you said, but I'll be less eloquent. Mayor Sala, again, your staff had performed magnificent the last fiscal year. Tammy, you did a great job on the budget. Parks did a fantastic job. Where is Parks? There he is. Fantastic job. And the planning, I wanted to mention the Planning Commission. I know that they get bombarded like we do. If you haven't watched the Planning Commission, they were bombarded pretty heavily in why are you only directing certain buildings in a certain district where you should spread it, and you know, they take the brunt also. Anybody that forms a committee, we're going to get the public coming after them. And I'm sorry that that happens, but that's the way it is. I wish it would be a little bit more respectful. But with that Planning Commission over the last 12 years, they've done some magnificent work, which allowed for the development, the economic development that we're doing in the Crossroads West Shopping Center with the Costco. There's bringing in an increase of 11.8% in sales tax alone, which is well above our deficit that we created. Plus, there's going to be other quality economic development there. I know the city of Modesto was asked, mayor was asked, what do you plan on doing for economic development? And he said it was before Zawan annexed Riverbank. And it's true, we are doing things that no other city's doing. And I want to thank the staff for all of their patience. And when you transition the $36,000 for Office 365, if there's any room for training, I'd like to be trained. I'm having difficulty spelling 365. I want to also comment on the housing. As you spoke, Vice Mayor, excuse me, Secretary Yellen today commented on what they have to do from the national perspective to increase the housing, not in 10 years, but between now and 2030, 3.5 million units, single units between now and 2030. And California's deficit in housing has to increase, or you're driving people to homelessness, you're driving people out of your area because you don't have enough housing that is competitive instead of being gentrification of your housing. I had some others too, but I think I went on. I didn't want to top the Vice Mayor. With that, we're going to go into closed session. At this time, the members of the public can comment for 3 minutes on our closed session item as set forth in the agenda, starting with item 13.1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. Name of case, City of Riverbank versus Snyder Electric Buildings America, Inc. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, we adjourn to closed session.
All right.
Norma, I'm gonna leave this meeting and join the next one, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'll do that now.
Okay.
Maybe. Am I there yet? I'm there. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, can you hear us, Vice
Now
Mayor?
I can.
Okay, we see you.
Thanks.
The City of Riverbank City Council meeting is now back from closed session to report on the closed session of item 14.1. In an unanimous decision, the City Council has authorized the city manager the authority for an arbitration award to Snyder Electric of $630,448.57. This meeting is now adjourned. Our next meeting is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024.
Thank you, everyone.